Well, good morning to you. Welcome Facebook Live and our audience over on YouTube. I'm Todd Duplantis, and this is Up to the Minute. We've got a great show lined up for you. The next half hour, we're going to be talking about going back to campuses for some. For many, it's still online, at least for the next 4 weeks. We'll break that down in just a few moments. And also, it's Gaming Wednesday. We've got a returning guest with a local company you want to hear all about. Right now, Dr. Tony Reyes-Sutherland is my co-host. She's joining me this morning. Good to see you again, Tony.
Good to be here, always.
So we've got a big show. It's Gaming Wednesday. You'll be interviewing our gaming guests, but most importantly, it's already the 25th of August. Where did the summer go? Who got rid of it? I didn't get the memo in this, but it just seems like the other day we were in April.
It's gone now. It's still hot, but the summer part's gone.
Yeah, well, the summer in Houston lasts for about 8 months, and we have a glimpse of winter, a little bit of spring. So there you go.
But so, it's time to get back to school.
Yeah, so we've got some changes going on as we head into the new semester. We're going to talk more about that with the president of our Coleman College in just a moment. But you want to remind folks, we're back on HCCTV, and they can find us on social media.
Absolutely. On HCCTV, we're back noon and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. And just check your local listings for where to locate us. And then for social media, just look up Houston Community College District, and you'll find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, all over the place.
All right, Tony, stick around. We'll be checking in with you very shortly. We've got a returning guest, Manuel Delgado. He's the Executive Vice President and Strategy of Corporate Affairs. He's with a company called 6foot.com. We're going to welcome him to the show now. Manuel, welcome back to the show. Good to see you. Well, we got
you guys.
Here we go. Good to see you. We're good. Yeah. We're good. It's good to see you again. We're looking forward to talking with you to get some updates on 6 foot. So if we could get you to stand by, we'll be checking in with you in about 10 minutes. Right now, though, we're going to take you out to the medical center, the home of HCC's Coleman College of Health Sciences. Dr. Philip Nicotera is the president out there. Good morning, Dr. Nicotera.
Good morning, Todd. How are you? Good morning, Tony. Good to be here.
Good to have you with us. First off, a couple of weeks ago, announcement was made. Things are going to, I guess, be more of the same for a lot of our students. The academic programs are going online for the next 4 weeks. But in reality, out in Coleman, you guys have had classes back, many of them since last June, a year ago. And right. You're continuing to do so following CDC guidelines and getting those students trained.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. And you know, when we look at making a decision like we made in terms of having academic classes online and looking at workforce classes, especially healthcare courses, of coming back in person, we looked at our history of how successful we've been over the course of the year, because throughout the pandemic, Coleman has been, you know, the leader in terms of bringing students back on campus safely. And I think that's the key word. I'm going to put it in quotes here, because we've been very, very fortunate to do this the right way and to keep both faculty, students, and the staff that have been on campus very safe. On the other hand, what's extremely important and why we made a decision like this is that in workforce, and especially healthcare, it is extremely important to have those hands-on skills.
Yeah.
And as much as we can do a lot online, and we've come a long way over the year and before that, there are just certain skills that you cannot simulate as well online. And so it's very important for students to come back and to touch and feel and to do. And I'm going to tell you that, you know, students want to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they want to get into those environmental settings and eventually get out there in the workforce. Speaking of getting into the workforce, I know when you and I first talked last summer, I believe, summer before this past one, there were some, I guess a lot of the hospitals weren't ready to bring the students back in, and you were able to finally get them in. I would imagine now because frontline workers are so overworked and short-staffed, they would probably like to get your students in as quickly as possible to start alleviating some of those workers.
That's absolutely true. Number one, we know that there's a shortage, especially a shortage in nurses, where the state has actually brought in nurses from outside of the state to help vaccinated. They also are requiring that any student that goes there for training needs to be vaccinated as well. So we're seeing that trend develop as well.
Speaking of vaccinations, I know your students at Coleman were some of the first to get out there and start assisting with vaccinating our community months ago, working in tandem with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee. Maybe you can tell us about some of those efforts, because there's been a few of them that are happened, and we must note against you guys are some of the first out there.
Yeah, that's true. And we appreciated the opportunity when the Congresswoman called us here at Coleman and at HCC and asked if we could help out, provide, the administration of some vaccinations in areas where we had low vaccination participation. So we quickly mobilized our nursing students and made this part of their educational process. So they went out. We did 7 different events with the Congresswoman at various locations throughout Houston. Our students went there. They actually administered vaccines to several hundred individuals on each of the occasions. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we're talking 400 to 500 individuals at a time, and so we helped the community get vaccinated. Our students got a great experience. I think, one of the things that doesn't happen, in healthcare education is you really don't get out there and do what I'll call public health or that community service type of healthcare. And so they got that experience by doing that. And so we're continuing to work with the Congresswoman. We're in some other discussions on doing some other things throughout the city for her.
Dr. Nicotera, this past summer also, we had a guest on the show just the other day talking about your new endoscopy program. And we were talking before the show and speaking with Melissa Bruton. This is one of the first in the country. And you're saying, one of the first in Texas itself, but you're saying possibly one of the first in the country.
Yeah, definitely the only one in Texas. And I do believe it may be either the only one or there's only 2 in the U.S. But it's an interesting story. And back a few years ago, a physician from MD Anderson wrote to the chancellor. And of course, the chancellor about starting an endoscopic technician program. Of course, the chancellor contacted me and I got together with the physician. And what we did is we formed an advisory group. At the time, we had to research the need, in the job market, which we found was there was a need for endoscopic technicians. The issue that happened was that there was no formal training for these technicians. And so they learned on the job, and often they would move on to other jobs, or there was no room for advancement in the pay scale because there was no formal training. What wasn't comparable to other positions in the healthcare system. So we created, and I asked, we need to get all of the hospital systems, the healthcare community on board. So we formed an advisory committee that had representatives from every healthcare institution in this city. And it was more than 20 people. And they, together with us, developed this program. And finally, we've got it off the ground. And we've got students starting in the program this semester. So we're very happy about that.
You also have a new partnership. I know partnerships are very important with HCC, but you're working with the Harris Center. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Harris Center contacted us, and we're also seeing a trend. So in ambulatory care, there also is a great need for extra hands, for personnel. And so they're using medical assistants. So we set up a special training program for medical assistants with the Harris Center to give them a pipeline of qualified, medical assistants at the end of the program.
Dr. Philip Nicotera, the president of HCC's Coleman College for Health Sciences. Thanks for being on the show this morning. Wishing you the best of health this semester and good luck with the students. And I know for the ones that are on campus and out there, I know they just can't wait to get into the workforce.
Yeah, they absolutely, that's the truth. And thank you for having me.
Thanks, Dr. Nicotera. Stay safe.
Yep.
All right, we are going to move on to Gaming Wednesday. Of course, Dr. Tony Rayo Sutherland's joining me right now. Tony, you're going to be welcoming back a guest I had a chance to speak with a few months ago, Manuel Delgado from a company called 6 Foot. Looking forward to hearing from him again. And I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome to the show, Manuel Delgado, and your company's called 6 Foot. Now, you're the executive vice president for strategy and corporate affairs for it. First of all, where'd you get the name 6 Foot? We can't hear you.
Yes, of course.
You go.
That is the phrase of 2021. You are on mute. The name 6 Foot, it originally was from the fact that the 3 founding partners were all taller than 6 feet tall. But over the years, so we've been around for more than 20 years, and now 6 Foot embodies the philosophy of the company. We create entertainment that is good for your soul. So we don't do anything that is gory or bloody or non-family friendly. So in a way, we create entertainment that elevates. So everybody's taller after experiencing one of our games or reading one of our books or watching one of our films.
So therefore 6 Foot. I like that. That's very good.
Our internal informal motto is ever taller.
Well, tell me a little bit about your history. How'd y'all come together and what is your philosophy?
Yeah, so by the way, during the pandemic, the many things that changed, my title changed. So now I am the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer of the company. That old title, I still do that, but the old title was so complicated. So CMO is simpler. But we are, in essence, we're storytellers. We love art, we love technology, we love telling stories, and that drives everything we do. We are a microscopic version of Disney, if you will. We make video games, which is the core of our business. We also create books, comic books, young adult novels, children's books, and we also create films. About a year ago, August, more than a year and a half ago, we released our 3rd film called The Lost Husband. You may have watched it on Netflix. It was a romantic comedy that did extraordinarily well. It was #1 film on Netflix for several weeks during the summer last year, and it has been in the top 10 films for more than 30 countries. So we're very happy about that. But again, we're talking the business that really excites us and takes most of our heart and blood, sweat, and tears is the video game industry. I feel a little bit self-conscious following, the previous topic, right? Because we're talking about saving lives. But here's how we see it, and this is part of what we do. There are people in the world who are doing very, very important things, right? Saving life, doctors, nurses, first responders, people putting themselves, in danger, at risk, to protect the rest of us. There are people who are doing extraordinary things, right? They are inventing technologies that they are, creating the new world. Every single one of those people need to rest at some point. They need to get distracted at some point. And there's where we come in.
All work and no play doesn't work.
Correct. And the downtime you have is intrinsically important, like a part of you being an effective firefighter, an effective doctor, an effective nurse. So we want to create games, books, and films that make that downtime, that relaxed time meaningful, so you can be more effective when you go back to work. So that's how we feel we're contributing to making the world a better place.
I love it. And I saw I was looking at your website and I saw some of the things you did. They're very uplifting. I mean, it's fantasy also, but it was very uplifting. It doesn't bring you down, it brings you up, which is what it sounds like that you're trying to go for, right?
Exactly.
Well, now the industry has gotten huge. The gaming industry. Tell me a little bit about that. You were talking about earlier about how much money is put into this industry.
Yeah, so the video game industry is about almost $180 billion worldwide. But those numbers, to me, when they're so big, they're hard for me to get my brain around them. So the way that I understand that number is that the video game industry is 10 times larger than the global music industry and larger than music and television combined. Not only it's big in terms of money, but in the US alone, it supports over 400,000 jobs of all types. And when you think about video game players, people tend to have the stereotype that is just this, poor kid in the basement, right, playing video games. But actually,
that's not true anymore, right?
That is not true. 3 of every 4 people in the US play games. And if you look at the average video game player, the average player is a 34-year-old female.
Wow.
Because if you
I would not have thought that.
Yeah, because if you think about it, all those casual games you might play on your phone, like from Candy Crush to Sudoku to Words with Friends, they are a significant portion of the video game market. So it's a very diverse community. We have people from all ages, and everybody know that video games is very interactive. But what is interesting to us is that 3 of every 4, almost 80% actually, always play with others, whether it is in person in the same room, sharing controllers or what have you, or online. So it's a very social thing, which was part of the reason why during the pandemic, video games boomed. I mean, it was an amazing year for the entire industry because people were stuck at home, right? You didn't have those 30 to 60-minute commute every day, so you played games. And the beauty of last year, there's always goes back to the tragedy, and it was a very, very painful year for many, many people. The silver lining was that as a video game industry, we were able to provide solace and entertainment during that year, and people tried new games. People who hadn't played in years went back, fired up their old consoles or bought a new console or played games on the PC. And we had an amazing growth in 2021.
So you got more players, added players during this pandemic. It was actually a boom for you guys.
Correct.
Well, tell me, there are a lot of when you think about a video game, of course, first thing I think of is animators and storytellers and things like that. But there's all kinds of positions that are there for the gaming industry. Tell us a little bit about that.
If you think about a video game, it's simply a very complex and beautiful software program, right? So when you think about the disciplines that are required to create, a database application or Microsoft Word, you need the same disciplines in video game creation. You need programmers, you need IT technicians, you need systems engineers and system architects. But there's, and I know it's a big part of what the Houston Community College system believes in, not only STEAM, but not only STEM, but STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art
involved with all of it, yes, music.
And I cannot think of a better example than video games, because in video games, you have engineers and programmers that are coding in some very hardcore programming languages, collaborating with musicians that do the music and the sound, with artists that dream these worlds for the video game, with writers that create the characters and do the storylines and the plot lines. One of our games is called Dreadnought, which is just starships blowing each other up in space. And it's fascinating because you have some days I love my job, but some days I love it more when we have an hour meeting to discuss, okay, what kind of weaponry are we going to put in this starship, right? And let's talk about the captain. Well, these captains fought in the Solar Wars in the year 2243, and what happened to her? And so those it's beautiful storyteller, but then you have to turn that into code so you can enjoy it and be a part of it. But of course, besides artists, animators, QA testers, which are the guys who try to break the game to make sure the game doesn't have any bugs before it goes to market. We also have very traditional careers in the video game industry because we need accountants, right? We need HR specialists. We need, all of the disciplines, finance people, all the disciplines that are necessary to run a regular business. We need a video game industry. The big difference is that when you are playing a game at work, it's okay because you're probably working. You're testing our game, and you are, checking out the competition, right? And if somebody tells you, you're a grown man, what are you doing? Not that that's ever happened to me, but some wives may come into offices and ask, are you playing video games? And I'm working, honey. I'm just, and it's the truth.
Tell me, how much money we have a digital gaming program at HCC, and we have a lot of students going into that industry. What can they, now you just talked about the different kinds of jobs, what can they expect to make? Of course, it depends on the particular job in the industry, but what can they expect to make? Thank you for bringing that up because that's actually one of the best kept secrets of the industry. Our average salaries are higher than most industries. So the average video game employee last year made over $120,000 a year. That's the average. Entry level, of course, will be lower than that in the mid to high, 5 figures. But the career progressions are there. It's a close-knit industry. It's a great industry. Everybody's very friendly. I've never been in an industry, nor what that was so fragmented, right? Because I come from technology. I used to work for HP and Compaq. And when you're at HP, you have 4 or 5 companies that you're your competitors and you don't like. And you just buy HP products. And I'm still fairly loyal to my old companies. But then in the video game industry, you have literally hundreds of companies in Texas alone. So you have thousands of companies around the country, around the world, and you have to try their products. So when in other industries might be frowned upon, if you're using the competitors' products, in the video game industry, it's kind of part of your job and part of the love we all feel for the industry to look at other companies, what are they doing, and to recognize when they do something beautiful, or something great, or something exciting. I have to say that I noticed that your station, your home is in Houston, but you also have a place in Los Angeles and Berlin?
Correct. So we have, because we do partnership with Hollywood studios for our film division, and a lot of the video game industry used to be in California. So we have a representative in LA, an office in LA, and then in Berlin, we run all of our European and Asian operations out of our Berlin office. Like time zone is more convenient, and also we are, in a word, a micro multinational because we outsource some of the more work-intensive jobs like QA testing, quality control. Hours and hours of painstaking playing and repeating certain things to see if you can replicate an error that some player got. So we've done outsourcing of those labors to Eastern Europe, for instance, where we have very high quality people that is a fraction of a cost in the US. While in the US, we still keep in Houston. We still keep all of our creative minds, all of our the more difficult, less tedious things that we have to do. We keep it in Houston. And that also helps explain why the average salary tends to be higher.
Manuel Delgado, we appreciate you being here with us this morning. Always good to see you, and fascinating advice for our students. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Continued success with 6 Foot. We look forward to hearing from you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to our news and announcements. We got a few of them for you. Tony, we want to extend some congratulations to our own Janet May, Chief HR Officer at Houston Community College. She's been selected to receive the College and University Professional Association for Human Resources 2021 Distinguished Service Award. Now, this national award honors transformative HR work in higher education, recognizing teams or individuals who have provided HR leadership resulting in significant and ongoing organizational change within their institutions. Coupa HR is pleased to make a $3,000 contribution to HCC's STEAM Summer Camp. Great deal. And that's for local high school students. Congratulations, Janet May. And I believe we're going to be getting her on the show to talk about this award next week sometime. So congratulations to her. And tomorrow is the last day to check out a partnership we have with Mattress Mac for a selling school.
Absolutely. And he's got a special thing that he's going to teach everybody. Do you think it's what you learn after you know it all? You know, I always tell my kids, well, you think you know it all now, just wait a while and then you'll learn more.
And and if you want to take the class, it's free. We'll have the link in the social media post for the show. We're going to wrap up this show, but before I go, I want to remind everyone, registration for our second start semester, that is underway. Register now, get the class you want, the class you need, the campus you want, the instructor. They're going to be small classes when we do hold them in person. Go to hccs.edu/now to register today. Tomorrow on the show, we've got a special guest. We're continuing with the presidents of our colleges, Tony.
Yes, Dr. Zachary Hodges from Northwest College is going to talk about all the wonderful things that they do over there.
Yes, and we've got the virtual Family Fun Day guest from the Health Museum of Houston. Well, that wraps up today's show. I'm Todd Duplantis for Dr. Tony Rayo Sutherland. We will see all of you tomorrow morning live here at 10 a.m.